Welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you for subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you could rate it on Apple Podcasts or whatever other platform, it would really mean a lot to me. Thank you. R.I.P. Timi. If you read the title, you might be wondering what I'm talking about. If you actually read the episode description, you already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my car. Now, I have talked about my car a few times before in previous episodes, and I've actually taken a few trips with my car, and I've talked about those trips in some episodes. You can find them in the description of the episode. But before telling you, before telling you how Timmy died, let me tell you how Timmy lived. Well, she was an old lady. Okay, so I have to start by saying I'm not sure if it's fully dead, but I'm giving up. It's like when it's on machines and the doctor are like, we can keep it alive, but I don't know if it's worth it. And you're over here like, should I cut my losses? Okay, nobody should think about like that about a person. But when it comes to a car, I'm in that moment when I'm like, I've already invested way too much into fixing this car, so by now I should just try to give up on it. But let's start with the beginning. The beginning being, I have bought the car last year in April, so 2021 in April, and it was my first car ever. I was sure from the beginning that I want my first car to be a second-hand car because I was like, you know what? I'm still kind of learning how to drive because, again, I got my driving license just a couple of years back. So I was like, I'm still learning how to drive. It's going to be okay. So I saw the car and I immediately loved it. It was a Toyota 2002 RAV4 Toyota, right? And so I bought a car and I knew nothing about owning a car. So to give you a very like how it all went down, it's very easy to buy a car here in Iceland. You go to a website where people are selling stuff. You try to find a thing, and then if it's from a person, then you meet with them. You take the car, and then you take the car for a drive, and then if you want to buy it, you buy it. You go online, and you can just basically click. You just have to send the money in their account, or if you have it cash. But like, who has cash in Iceland? Nobody. If you have cash while in Iceland, like a lot of money in cash, something is wrong with you're doing something that I don't want to know what it is about because it might be illegal. Okay, so that's what I've done. I asked some friends to help me out because, again, I didn't know anything about having a car, let alone buying a car. I just knew that you have to negotiate a lot. That I got it down. I was like, that's my thing. And so I managed to buy the car. It was a bit of because I blocked my bank account of whatever. The point is that I bought the car. The next day I paid the whole money. It was all good, no problem whatsoever. The car was amazing. I think not even a week after I bought the car, I decided to go on a trip in the north of Iceland. For those who have traveled to Iceland before or are interested in traveling to Iceland again or like whatever, I have written a bit about my trip in the north of Iceland last year, and I went to Troll Peninsula and then Akureyri and Mývatn area. So I've done basically a bit of the Diamond Circle, and then Troll Peninsula, and then yeah. So that was my thing. Okay, so now, obviously, I had a car. It was amazing. I went on a trip. Now, on the way, I was just leaving Reykjavik, like 20 minutes later, I kept hearing a weird sound coming from the car. And I kept hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. And I'm like, what the hell is that? That's so weird. So I finally stopped somewhere on the side of the road. And then I'm trying to see, I'm like, is it my tire? Is it like, what is going on? And then what I see, it's a metal hanging from the bottom of my car, hanging. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm talking with the friend that I'm supposed to go to, and I'm telling him, like, I don't know what's going on, what should I do? And then I'm taking pictures, I'm showing to him, and he's like, yeah, it's nothing, it's just something that holds something. So it's nothing too bad if you can just try to kind of either rip it or like switch it up, so then like to bend it in the opposite way or something like that, so it's not gonna drag anymore. So I finally somehow managed to do that. And so I drive there. The car seemed fine. Everything was fine. I have a good time. Then I come back to Iceland. I was in Iceland. I come back. That was like a 6-hour drive. So it was kind of, you know. And I forgot to say, they were the original tires. They had the original tires. The car had the original tires. Should I tell you again when the car was from? 2002. Last year was 2021. Okay. So I come back home. I even take the car because the volcano erupted in March last year. Spoiler alert, another volcano erupted last week. And I'm planning to go again. So hopefully I'm going to tell you more about that soon. Anyway, coming back. I go back home. The car seems fine. Except, or I don't think I've noticed this already. Did I notice this already? I don't think so. Yeah. I go to the... what's the name? I go to the volcano. So I go to the volcano. We go a bit on a 4x4 road kind of a thing. I'm managing. I'm stressed about it, but I'm managing. Stuff sounds a bit weird, but it's fine. So I'm managing. Now the thing is, when I bought it, the owner said that it is the car is doing a bit of a shake when. So it was an automatic car, but the car is doing a bit of a shake when it gets around 40 kilometers. So basically when it switches from second gear onwards, it's doing a bit of a shake. I've Googled that ish before buying the car. So I Googled to see what could be the problem. And it was saying that if you have any shaking problems or something like that, then that's going to be really expensive because it's with the gear thingy. So it's going to be really expensive, whatever. Point is that I bought the car, I drove it already 2 times, so it was doing the shaky thing, but I was like, yeah, it's fine. But then I'm like, you know what? I was supposed to change the oil. I didn't know that I'm supposed to change. Like, I was approaching the time when I was supposed to change the oil, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and change the oil, and then also ask them about the shaky thing. So I go, change the oil. They are showing me that, when did you change it last time? And I'm like, I don't know, because it's really dark. It's a good thing that you came because it was not good and all that shit. So then I also tell them like, okay, what about the shaking of the car? So then a mechanic takes the car. I don't go with him. Don't ask me why. I really have no idea. I can tell you why. Because I felt very insecure to go to a mechanic to talk about the problems of the car that I just bought, because I didn't know shit about cars in general. So not only that I don't speak the language, and the people didn't seem to speak that much English to begin with, I also don't know shit about cars. So I go and I said that it's doing a bit of a shake. I didn't go with the mechanic. The mechanic takes the car for a ride. And then he comes back and I'm like, so? he's like, it's not doing that. And I'm like, so is it my fault? And he's like, I think so. I didn't notice anything. So then I was like, okay, so it's just that I don't know how to drive the car. But like, I drove one car before when I was working for the challenge. And I used it for like over 1,000 kilometers for that period of 2 months. And I was like, I didn't do that shit. Like the automatic would just go. Like that's the point of automatic. Not to, because I kept laughing that this is the curse on me because I didn't want an automatic car precisely because I'm not very good at driving a stick, even though I've learned, I was taught how to drive a stick. I'm not that good at it. So I was like, this is what I'm doing when I'm driving on a stick. I keep fucking the car, as in it's not going well because it's not a smooth transition between gears. I just don't know how to do it in a smooth way. So anyway, they are changing my oil. But then, like a few days later, the wheel is screeching really badly when to turn. So like a week or something like that, I go back to them and I'm telling them, okay, so I don't know what's happening. I just changed the oil with you, and then this is happening right now. So they are telling me, oh no, but that was way later, man. Okay, I have to tell you something. It's a blur. Timeline, it's a blur. So I don't know when I actually went. Maybe I went later on to change the oil. Maybe not so soon after. Because so I went in the North trip in April, but then I hate when I do this. Anyway, so the point is that he's telling me, so I go again with the car. And I'm telling them, okay, this is not okay. So they are telling me, we can't take it right now. You need to leave it here and we are going to give it back to you. Or I don't remember if I left it there or I just had to go back to them in I don't know what time. Yeah, I had to come back on another date. So then they will check it out. So apparently what happened was that they changed the oil, but they never checked not to have any leakage. So apparently I had some leakage happening. So they changed the oil, but the oil didn't stay there. It just kept dripping. And I saw that it's dripping because it was staining the parking lot in front of the house where I live. And that didn't feel good. So then what happened is that I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I remember that he put some oil. He's like, I can put some oil there, but it's not gonna stay. And it's not even about you not driving it. It's gonna keep on dripping slowly and surely. So then I was like using the car for a bit, but not really. And then they told me to go on a specific date. I go on a specific date, and that's when they tell me, you know what, this is what happened. I'm sorry, but it wasn't fully okay. So then I'm telling them again about the issue regarding the shaking of the car. So another mechanic from the same place takes the car for a ride and then is coming back and is telling me like, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so finally they fix the thing with the oil, and eventually I get the car back, and I'm happy to see that the wheel is not screeching anymore and it's all good. Now, I have to say, all of this actually happened later in the year. So I just remembered in April, I don't remember when I went first time to the mechanic, but I know that when I went the last time, when they checked all of that ish for it, and the spillage or the leakage or whatever, that was already October, November. So now coming back to April, after April, somewhere end of May, I took the car for another trip. I went to the south coast of Iceland, all the way to Vik and back. And then I also did the Golden Circle because my partner was visiting me. So I went on a few trips basically with the car. It was still doing the shaky, shaky, but I was starting already to know how to use the car, so then it's not doing that shaky, shaky that much more. I also asked a friend at some point to drive the car. My partner drove the car and he had that shaky, shaky as well. And I was like, okay, so it's not me. Then I also asked another friend to drive my car, and he was like, nope, this is not you. It's like it can't catch up with when you press the pedal to go, like to get the speed. It's like it's not fully catching the rotation by basically. So that's what it seems. So then, um, I'm just gonna shortly explain that I didn't manage to get a job. I was planning to do a lot of trips with the car, but because I didn't manage to get any proper jobs again, other than very few little gigs, I didn't manage to use the car that much because I couldn't afford gas for it. So eventually, I get a job October, November for like a few nights per week, and so I take the car. And during this time, I'm realizing that my wheel is starting to screeching quite a bit. So that's when I finally go again. At the same time, um, I forgot to mention that when I bought the car, um, I didn't have an extra, like the extra tire. I didn't have that anymore. So I'm deciding to go and just buy. I'm going to like a tire shop or something like that, and I'm like, let me buy just the extra tire because the other tires are okay. They are fine. It's okay. And I go to the tire shop and they are telling me, yeah, no, you need to change these tires. And they are showing me all the cracks in the tires. And I'm like, and they were like, when were they changed the last time? And I'm like, I think they are the original tires. And they were like, this car was used for 20 years with these tires and you want to keep going with them? Like, no, this is not acceptable. This is not okay. I was kind of almost shamed. So then I'm like, well, I guess I have to buy new tires. I'm buying new tires. Of course, they also take a time until they arrive. I buy new tires, and I'm like, maybe the problem with the shaky shaky was from the tires, which is probably a stupid thing to think. And for a while, I'm starting to be so smooth that I don't even like the shaky shaky doesn't happen every single time. So I'm like, so who knows? Maybe it's not that bad. And then the oil spillage happens after I finish my job because I was like, I just need a car for like 2 more weeks, but then they cancel on me for like the last 2 days or 3 days. And I'm like, God damn it, I could have taken the car, whatever. Take the car. They are telling me that ish. And then this was already November. And then somewhere, um, I don't remember, I don't remember when I actually left Iceland for like a month or so. I think it was somewhere mid November or December. I really don't remember when. I go away. It was the beginning of December. I go away for the holidays. You know, I went to Mexico, I went to Florida, I went to New York. You know all of that because maybe you have listened to previous episodes. Anyway, I come back to Iceland and oh no, wait. This was last year. Yeah. I come back to Iceland, and first and foremost, the battery was dead because I didn't think to ask my friend to keep like to when he would come here to water my plants. I didn't think to ask uh, my friend to also take the car for a spin for a little bit. Then the storms are coming in February. I'm struggling to take the car out from very, like it was snowed in really badly. But what I have to say is that when I finally managed to take the car out, I do see some yellow snow. And I'm like, how come I have yellow snow under the car? What could it still leak? Because I've already got it fixed. Like, I've already got it fixed by this and this and that. Like, my car should be fine. So, then spring kind of comes, not really. March comes, and the March is when I have to to go to the annual check of the car. So I'm like, you know what? I eventually go with the car, and I'm being told that I need to fix the car because the brakes are rusty. So they found rust on the brakes, and I have some leakage coming from somewhere. And I'm like, no, no. The leakage was stopped. And the guy was like, yeah, no, you need to go check, fix it, and then come back. You have a month to do this. So then I go to the same mechanics. And I'm like, didn't you fix this? And they are like, no, this is from somewhere else. We fixed something else that was leaking. This is another leakage that is coming from the gearbox, I think, or from the direction, or whatever the fuck. And then they take the car up. He's taking me under the car and showing me like, yeah, the brakes are kind of rusty. Yeah, okay. So I was like, how much could it cost? And he's telling me like, it could be like this or this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so what follows is a week of purgatory and then eventually hell, in which I'm told that actually the car is a bit more damaged than we thought, because the brakes are actually more damage than they thought, and there's actually more damage, and they are surprised how the person who checked for the car didn't notice that. But they wanted to know, do I want to just solve everything, or just what the person who checked the car said? And I was like, well, how much could it cost? And they were like, it depends, but not that much more than this one. And I'm like, okay, so then do everything. But then they come up back to me, and I paid for the car around 2,500 euros. And long story short, I had to pay 1,500 euros for the car to be fixed. And I kept thinking, what should I do? And I was on a call for like 20 minutes with a mechanic, and I was like, is it worth to fix it? Because I actually don't need it that much. I'm not using it. I'm planning to sell it this summer. So should I maybe just sell it as it is and then let it, like, I don't have to have a car? And they were like, we don't know, but I think it's worth fixing it, la la la. And I was like, is it because I don't know if I can afford this? And if you fix it, can I get more money on it? Because I'm gonna try to sell it. And they were like, yeah, for sure. So then I take the car. They make a joke like, yeah, there was a lot to fix, and I was like, and they were like, yeah, now it's okay. And I was like, I hope it's okay, because I paid a fucking fortune. And the thing is that every time they told me another price, and even when I got there, it was still more to pay than what I was told. So it was so fucking expensive that I felt that half of my soul broke when I had to pay that much money on the fucking fixing the car. They weren't very able to tell me what the fuck they actually fixed, and they wrote everything in Icelandic, so I don't have a big list with stuff that they did. I still don't know, because I barely understand the handwriting, but I also don't understand Icelandic, so I have no idea what they actually fucking did to the car. April comes, and so I go again to the car. The guy is checking the car, so now it's okay. I get the stamp that it's valid for 1 more year, so then that's perfect. Now, my partner comes to me again. He's visiting me again, once again, end of May. So this time around, we decided to go on a trip in the north of Iceland. Now, the thing is that after the car was fixed, and before this, I did a bit of just going a bit outside or like close by in Reykjavik. So I drove the car a little bit. And it didn't sound right to me. It didn't feel right to me. But I was like, how should I fucking know if this is okay or it's not okay? Because I don't trust my gut when it comes to driving cars because I have no gut regarding. Sorry, I just hit the microphone like a professional that I am. So my partner comes. We go this time in the north, and we kind of did do the same. We do the Troll Peninsula first, stay there for like 2 nights, and then we go to Mivatno area, and then we do the Diamond Circle once again. It was amazing. However, the car was losing power, and it felt really weird because when I was going up a hill, I would feel that the car is losing power, which felt very weird, but also kind of like assuring that, oh, so I do get when a car has the problems. So maybe I do have a gut fucking feeling that I didn't know that I have. And the car was shaking more than usual, and it just seemed angry at me. It was also consuming more gas than usual. Like I had to do 5 fill ups. It was so fucking expensive. I had to do 5 fill ups, and it was just so bad. So, and by the end of the trip, the check engine light comes on. And it happened like one day it appeared, then the next morning it didn't show up anymore. Then the next day again it showed up, and I'm like, okay, I will have to go and check this out. So I'm saying, like, you know what? I'm not going to go to those fucking same mechanics because I don't trust them anymore since I paid so much money and still my car, just got the check engine car. Like, what the fuck is that? Like what? It was just checked in April. It was end of May. It was like a bit over a month since it was checked and fixed and all that. So I'm like, I refuse. So I go to another mechanic, and I was told once again that they weren't able to take it then, so I should come another day. And then I come another day and leave it there, and then they're calling me and they are telling me that it's actually nothing to worry about. The car is okay, except it might do with the oxygen sensor. Well, when he says oxygen sensor, I'm like, wait, is my car polluting more than usual? Is that one of the problems? Because, excuse me, I mean, I am a polluter, but like, I don't want to be even more of a polluter than I am. The good thing is that I didn't use the car. So I had the car for like a year and a half. I didn't use it that much. I honestly didn't. Like, again, I did like 4 big trips or 5 big trips, and then I used it a few more times around Reykjavik, and then a few more times, like 5 times around Reykjavik, and maybe 5 times for my job. And that was kind of it. So basically, you know what? It wasn't that bad for like a year and a half of owning a car. So the guy is telling me this and is telling me how much it's going to cost, but it was already beginning of June, and I was meant to leave mid-June to Romania, if you remember, and you have listened to the podcast. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Okay. And I also used the car. If you remember the episode of Summer House with a Mouse, I used the car then, and it was not okay back then either. Like, I felt that it's losing power and it's not going. Like, when I went into the off track, like it was the bumpy road, and I'm like, but this car is made to be on the bumpy road, and the tires are new. Like, I bought them last year and I barely used the freaking tires. So like, what's the problem? Anyway, meanwhile, I have 2 friends that are coming to Iceland, and we talk about me renting the car to them. In which I'm saying, like, oh my God, I can at least get some money back from all the damage that I paid for from renting the car. And I'm like, this can be actually a good idea, because I was planning to sell it by the end of the summer regardless. So I'm like, if I manage to actually rent the car, I can make the money back by renting it. It doesn't even matter if I'm managing to sell it for a good price or not. So in such a way that actually went to leave for Romania, So went to live for Romania in mid June. I leave on a Saturday, and a friend of mine is actually coming on Sunday morning. So he's picking up the car. I can drive myself to the airport, and he can pick up the car and he can use the car. Now, granted, if you remember, I was not feeling okay. I thought that I'm gonna die. All of that. Eventually, I make it to Romania. Sunday was a blur to me, so on Monday, I'm kind of starting to feel a bit better. And on Sunday is when my friend is texting me and saying, like, hey, your car doesn't seem to be fine. And I'm feeling offended at the beginning because I'm like, what the hell do you mean? I told him that I have the check engine light on, and I told him that I went to be checked, and they told me that it's just a sensor and I will deal with that later. And so I told him, if you are okay with that, just so you know. So now he's telling me, like, no, your car is not fine. So then I'm saying, what do you mean? It's doing a bit of shaky, but like that's not the problem. That's just how the car is. The car has some quirks. That's fine. And he's like, I don't know. So then I'm telling him the whole history. I'm like, dude, I just fixed the car in April. It passed the thing. I paid like $1,500 or euros to get it fixed. I checked with the other guy, and they told me that it's just the oxygen. So I don't know. So then my friend is like, do you want me to take it to the mechanic again? Because I have some time before leaving for whatever other trip in Iceland. And I'm like, oh my God, would you do that? Okay, sure, thank you. So he goes to the same mechanics that fixed my car for 1,500 euros. And he comes back from it with telling me, I have bad news. And I'm like, what? So I went there and I showed them the car and I talked with the main mechanic, and he was like, yeah, I remember this car. So he's telling him what the issue is, that it sounds louder, and indeed it's not, like, it's kind of losing power or whatever the problem is. So then they go out on a drive together, and then they conclude that the car is not safe to be driven outside of the city, and it's from the gearbox, the automatic gearbox, and that is extremely expensive to fix, and there's nothing that can be done because it's very expensive, so it's not worth it. To which I was so fucking angered. I'm like, excuse me, what the fuck? So my car had this problem, yet you fucking tricked me to pay 1,500 for some other fixage that it actually didn't matter, because the main problem of the car was something that is not worth fixing to begin with. So my friend also showed them the invoice, and they were like kind of like saying like, yeah, we know about this. Yeah, we know the car. So that was kind of it. And I mind you, the car has around 90,000 kilometers in 20 years of driving. So it's not even that it has been driven too much or something like that. So then my friend is telling me like, yeah, I cannot take this car because it's not safe. So he's driving it back to my place. I'm not managing to rent. Then I'm telling the other people who were supposed to rent the car somewhere end of August, I'm telling them like, guess what? I can give you the car. I'm sorry. I cannot give it to you because apparently I was pranked by some fucking mechanics, and it's not okay. Finally, I come back from Romania and then New York. I'm coming back to Iceland, and I'm trying to book a place where I can take the car, but I don't want to go to the same mechanics. And I'm like, you know what? I still have to sell the car, so I'm gonna go. I'm going to try to fix the problem. That is the engine, like check the engine light. And then I'm going to try to sell it and be honest with people and tell them I'm not sure if it actually has a problem. It passed the thing. I fixed it with this much money. I was already ready to show the picture of how much money I paid to get it fixed in April, so it should be fine. But I'm like, but I don't want to sell it with a problem like check engine light on. So I'm trying to get appointment for my car service. So I call a place, and so it was like end of July, and they are telling me, yeah, we can take you in 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to make that appointment. And then I'm sending an email to Toyota service in Iceland, and I'm like, so I have this problem. The check engine light is on. What can I do? So I get a call from them, and they are telling me if you can come tomorrow to the. We don't have time to actually go through troubleshooting, but we can check with our computers. We can check and see what the problem is. So at least we know how bad it is and what's the situation. So if you can come the next morning, then that's great. So I drive there the next morning, and they're telling me like, okay, you can leave the car in the parking lot. Where is it? Okay, there, give us the keys, and then you can go in the lounge room and have tea or coffee or whatever. And while I was there, a friend of mine came because we were supposed to meet in that day. So he came to me since I was there waiting for quite a few. I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to wait here. So they're like, do you want me to come to you? And I'm like, yeah, we can just stay here and then we'll see what we're going to do. Okay, fine, cool. So while I was in that lounge, I get a call, and they are telling me, our mechanic said that there are a lot of more errors coming in, and the car is not safe to drive at all. Do you get that? Do you get that someone told me that the car is not safe to drive at all? And in April, I was told that it's safe to drive. And somewhere end of March, I fixed the car. And then since then, I went on a trip in north of Iceland for like 4 days, putting my life in danger, my partner's life, my life, and everyone else on the road. Life in danger, and then my friends' life in danger, and so on. So the guy is telling me, you cannot drive the car. So what do you want to do? And I'm like, so what can I do? They're like, if you want to leave it here, and next week we are gonna probably come back to you with an answer to see. The mechanic is saying that you should not drive this car, and I'm like, I don't know if I can trust this, but like, and I'm like, okay. So I leave the car there, and with the shock, I'm actually deciding. It's been a week and a half, never heard from them again, quite yet. So now what I think I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to sell the car for pieces, especially since I have new pieces that I'm supposed to have them in like a warranty for 2 years. So I have at least those pieces that are new, and I can sell the tires. But technically, I lost somewhere around 7,000 euros in 1 year and a half. Granted, I did some trips, and granted, I could use it for work and so on. But that's the money that I wasted, because also I'm paying a very expensive, extremely expensive car insurance. So I don't even know. Is the car insurance supposed to help me with all of this? I have no idea, because I don't even know what car insurance I have. And immediately when I called and I tried to ask about my insurance, and they just told me, you only have included the regular thing. And I'm like, what is the regular thing? Just the mandatory thing. Like, I don't understand to the day. I'm paying a monthly of $160 per month of fucking insurance that I have no idea what it's for. So, yeah, Timi is dead. And I'm very upset at the mechanics that fucked me over. And I really, truly hope that they are not going to last much longer. But I'm afraid that's not going to happen. And I am very upset. But I came to the conclusion that next car that I'm going to buy is not going to be secondhand, or if it is, it's not going to be a very old car. And I want it to be at least a hybrid, if not full electric. I need it to be at least full at least hybrid, because I can't deal with depending on the gas that also went skyrocketing because of the war and all that. So, in conclusion, I used to have a car. I called the car Timi. Now the car is dead. So, RIP Timi. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can do so by emailing